We have literally been taught by humanity and by society that we have to hide parts of ourselves in order to be accepted. And what we don't understand as a human race is that these parts of our personality, like the people pleaser, the protector, the performer, the perfectionist, all of these parts are amazing and they were created internally by your psyche and by your ego to keep you safe. But what we don't understand and what we're not taught out there in the world is that they're actually meant to be retired.
Hey, soul family, welcome to the Alive and Awake podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Kay, and I have spent the last 20 years teaching people how to work with their wounds and overcome their greatest fears so they can learn how to thrive in a world where they were only taught to conform. Each week, we will dive deep into the practical, the spiritual, and the mystical so I can teach you how to do the inner work to know yourself, trust yourself, and eventually love yourself enough to create a world where you feel fully alive, awake, and free. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode. Ready? Let's dive in.
Hey there. Welcome to another episode. As you know, I am Alicia Kay, and I am here to assist and support with the awakening of humanity, one episode, one show, and one teaching at a time. So if you have been following me, you know that we have been piggybacking on the Awaken with Alicia episode with Caitlin, where she felt that the parts of her inside that felt anger were going to be rejected by people in the outer world. And so she developed a protector in her that hid this part of herself in order to be loved, accepted, and to survive. And I feel like every single person that is listening to this show and that I come in contact with in my office also struggle with the same thing. We have literally been taught by humanity and by society that we have to hide parts of ourselves in order to be accepted. And what we don't understand as a human race is that these parts of our personality, like the people pleaser, the protector, the performer, the perfectionist, all of these parts are amazing and they were created internally by your psyche and by your ego to keep you safe. But what we don't understand and what we're not taught out there in the world is that they're actually meant to be retired. They serve a purpose, yes, but they are not supposed to last. And so today I want to talk about why the path of self-acceptance is so important. Because if we don't accept ourselves, we will continue playing these roles that burn us out. And then we feel like we're living wrong or like something is wrong with us or that we're being punished because we're not getting the love and the abundance and the joy that we ultimately want. But what we need to understand is that every little thing in this world was built backwards, was built opposite from what God, Spirit, and Source wanted us to know. So even certain things in the Bible, even certain things that we learn in school, even certain things that we learn as far as societal norms are all meant to keep you in this little box of existence so that you never discover the truth of your power and who you are and who you were created to be in this lifetime. So the first half of the life is, yes, meant to survive. The second half of your life is literally meant to thrive as you work through unwinding all of the conditioning and the programming and the fears that are keeping you tied to a 3D based slave matrix that was never made for you to thrive. And so there's a couple quotes that I want to introduce that I have spent my whole life living by. If you don't know anything about my story, and this is your first time listening to me, I am a survivor of immense trauma and addiction, struggle, poverty, abuse, violence, like all of the things that you would never ever want to experience as a person in this world. I was born into. My parents were teenagers. They did not know how to have a child. They did not know how to raise a child. They did the best they could. Love them to death, but I had a lot to learn when it came to keeping myself safe, understanding who I was, healing myself, knowing myself, finding God, the God within me, not the one that is preached in in church, but yes, that was also a path because I had to literally save myself. I spent my life's mission learning how to save myself so that I could teach other people how to do it too. And so one of those quotes is through a great psychologist named Carl Rogers. He says, "The curious paradox is that when I accept all of myself, then I can change." Another one that piggybacks that is a great quote from the Gospel of Thomas that was actually decided by the Council of Nicaea to not be put into the Bible because think about this. It says that if you do not bring forth that which is within you, it will kill you. If you do bring forth that which is in you, it will save you. Meaning, bring forth your fears. Bring forth the things you want to hide. Bring forth the things that you're ashamed of. Bring forth the things that you will judge. Because as you bring them to the surface, you then can be aware of them and then you can create change. You can choose to change whatever it is about yourself that you don't like, that you are not proud of, that you don't want to keep continuing doing. But what happens is that people are so afraid and so ashamed to be imperfect and to show that they're flawed or that they're messy that they just continue to keep spinning their wheels. I remember I had an amazing Akashic record reading done once where we were working with my inner child that holds a ton of fear in her body around feeling safe being seen, letting love in, receiving love, trusting men, all the things that I had to work through my own trauma. And what she said to me was, "Your inner child doesn't trust you." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean? I love her. I give her compassion. I relate to her. I speak with her. I try to get to know her. Like, what do you mean she doesn't trust me?" And she said, "She's too messy for you." And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And so I started thinking about it and I was like, oh my gosh. When I started looking back at pictures of me as a little girl, I was like Punky Brewster. I was wild. I had crazy hair. I was not put together. I was not quote unquote pretty. I had 80s hairband bangs, intense makeup. I was messy. And so I was like, wow, like when did I start to change? Like when did I start to put myself so together that I hid the messiness of me because I felt like that was going to be rejected? And I remember it very distinctly. So when I was young, I grew up in Colorado, in the slums of Colorado. We lived from motel to motel, hotel to hotel. My mom was a bartender. She couldn't afford a place for us to essentially live in a home. One of my therapists was like, "You were raised by wolves." Like my mom would sleep all day. I would have to make my own breakfast. It was a disaster when I was very, very young. And I moved to Buffalo, New York when I was 9 years old. And in third grade was the first real experience that I had of what society actually looked like without struggle or survival. And I remember comparing myself to the kids or the girls in my classroom. And I'm like, who's New Kids on the Block? I'm a Motley Crue girl. I don't know what that is, you know? So I started to conform because I felt so different than every single person that I was surrounded by. And I was different. I wasn't raised in a nuclear family in a home with breakfast and with dinner and with rules and with consequences and with learning how to dress. Like my sixth grade school picture, I had a Camel Cigarettes t-shirt on. You know, like I didn't have guidance. So I developed these parts of my personality in order to conform and to be accepted. So when I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder I let go of the messy tom girl that was like a boy and didn't care about what her hair looked like and didn't care about what people thought of her because I was just living in the moment. And which is, I think, why the Bible says that if you want to enter the kingdom of heaven, you have to be more like little children because children literally are living in the moment. They are so free. They aren't thinking about what does this person think of me or how does this person perceive me. That comes later in life. But the path to freedom in this life, the path to liberation in this life is to reconnect with that essence and that inner child within you that quote unquote doesn't give a like that wants to be wild and free and uses the imagination to play. Because the other thing that this world does not teach you is that your imagination actually creates your reality. Think about that. Your mind is such a powerful tool. Your mind is connected to the heart and mind of God. If you can imagine it and you live in that outer world of play and creativity, then it automatically starts to manifest for you in physical form. And you have to wonder why we live in a culture that tries to keep us locked into a system where we don't have to use our minds and we don't have to use our creative expression and we have to follow the rules and go to school and get our homework done and learn subjects that mean nothing to us later in life and mean nothing of interest to us because it teaches us how to be disciplined little girls and boys. And I'm not saying that school doesn't have its own benefits. So I'm not mocking the school system here. Like, I believe that I personally, as a young girl, I needed that structure. School was my safe place. School was a place that I went that I could escape every single thing from home. We live in a system that tries to make everybody the same when we literally were not created that way by God. We are all created to be individuals, and I truly do believe in unity consciousness and that we're all here to do this work together and we're all here to learn from each other. That is how we escape this matrix, is not by shaming, condemning, judging, or criticizing anyone else for their choices and what they do. It literally is understanding that we are all part of the same program. And the only way out is through and above and beyond learning new ways and learning how to exist in this world as a spiritual being, being in the world, but not of it. So, back to this path of self acceptance. So, we develop these parts of our personality in order for us to be accepted by culture, by society when we are young. We love these parts. They literally kept us safe. They literally kept us surviving. When I look at my inner child, when I look at my perfectionist, when I look at my people pleaser, I look at her, I'm like, oh my gosh, she tried so hard. She really did. And she's such a good person. But she also carried so much darkness and so much pain that these protector parts were hiding, really hiding. When you look at and you do internal family systems work, which is why I love doing that with the people I work with, it's like we have to understand that things don't get created for no reason, but we live in a world where we are taught to shame, judge, deny, and criticize ourselves for being who we are. And so I wanted to dive into something that I ran across this past week when I thought about, what do my listeners need to hear? What do my listeners need to understand about the parts of their personality that they are struggling to accept? And Spirit brought me to a page in the book, The Sophia Code. One of the key code mentors is Mother Mary. And what Mother Mary talks about is this concept of the rose. I developed something with my son not that long ago when we were sitting at dinner. It was like, what is the rose, the bud, and the thorn of your day? Meaning the rose is the amazing part, something that happened that was amazing. And what was the thorn? What was the thing that caused you the most pain? What was the thing that upset you? What was the thing that you didn't like about your day? And then the bud is the opportunity for growth. What am I working on? How do I see things differently? What is my work in order to change that way of thinking or to make my day better? So I love this concept of the rose, meaning that when it comes to our life and our life path, we all have the bloom and the blossom and the goodness and the joy and all the things we want to feel. But we also have the thorns. We have the darkness. We have the shame. We have the things that we judge. We have the things that hurt us. But what we don't understand is that we need both. And if you can actually choose to look at it as the yin and yang symbol is literally how we exist in this world, because we live in a world of duality. And duality means equal and opposite. There's good, there's evil, there's night, there's day, there's right, there's wrong, there's pain, there's pleasure. Like, all of it is the world of opposites, right? There's the sun, there's the moon. So why would we think that we get to escape that in our own human existence? But we live in a world that has conditioned us, which is why I say everything is so backwards and we are taught completely wrong, that we would be any different as a species, as a part of nature, as a part of Earth, as a part of this planet and this cosmos in the way that we exist. So because we live in a dualistic reality, then we also have to understand that the parts of ourselves that we shame and we judge and we don't accept the most are actually serving the bud, the rose, the growth, the bloom. We can't have one without the other. And what happens in our own human egoic consciousness is that we actually forget that every single thing that we have been through that has caused us some amount of suffering, pain, lack, struggle, survival also gave us the ambition and the drive to change, to be different, to grow, to be better, and to improve. That is the world that we live in. We don't get to escape that reality. I don't believe that we necessarily get to escape that reality as we evolve into 5D consciousness and in this new earth energy. Okay, so let me hone this in why I know that Spirit led me to talk to you about the rose with Mother Mary on the show. It says, Mother Mary speaking. As such, the rose provides a pathway of reconciliation that frees you from choosing between dualistic polarities and shifts your focus to meditate upon the wholeness that is being created by two seemingly opposite forces. For example, you do not have to banish the thorns of your humanity to behold your divinity. You are already divine. You were created as a divine being. There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing you have to fix about you unless you choose to change or fix it. But the adversarial voice and the ego constantly want to shame you, which is what keeps you spinning in these loops that are preventing you from actually seeing the truth and remembering the truth of who you are. It says your human awareness and the ego structures that come with your physical body provide a necessary creative tension for seeking out your divinity and consciously embodying that divinity. Unconditional love and acceptance for the totality of you, especially your humanity, is the reconciliation that allows for your awareness and ego to fully integrate into the omniscient light and sovereign divinity of your higher self. Your own unconditional love for seemingly opposite polarities of your humanity and your divinity is what spirals open the rose, unifying your whole self to walk in peace with who you really are along the transcendent pathway of Sophia Christ consciousness. Your body is the vehicle with both the beauty and the thorns, and your higher self is the inner guide to embody the bliss of your divinity on earth. Self-love continuously blooms within the rose of your heart with the honoring of all of these essential parts of your whole self, working together as one. Therefore, there is nothing wrong with you. The pain is meant to reveal your purpose. The things that you go through and that cause you suffering have a greater meaning that you just may not be aware of yet. So, as the Gospel of Thomas says, as you bring forth with what is within you, if you look at yourself, if you're not afraid to face your fears, if you're not afraid to raise your standards and you're not afraid to change the things that you need to change because you know in your heart you need to change them, then you cannot screw up this life. The Bible says faith the size of a mustard seed, even if you don't believe in spirit, even if you don't believe in Christ, even if you don't believe in God, just a small amount of hope and faith that things will change or things will improve is all you need. But we have a mental apparatus on the top of our head that is always trying to interpret or make sense of the things that are going on in the outer reality that have happened to you. So the work is always to drop down into the body and to feel what you're feeling, to release it, to clear it, to express it, to move through it, because emotions are energy in motion. And if you keep the emotions shoved down and suppressed, which I also believe was part of the dark forces plan to keep us in suffering, was to say or to shame our emotional body or our emotional expression, especially as women, then we don't get to evolve and transcend into the highest expression of ourselves that we can be as unique individual creators through our I am presence and with Christ. So let me piggyback real quick. Okay, so I'm going to close with one of the last paragraphs, and then I'm going to give you some ways to work with these parts or to understand these parts of you so that you can start to move toward the path of self acceptance instead of the path of self judgment, shame, condemnation, and suffering. Because we are all meant to evolve out of the ways of this world so that we can accept the truth of who we are and we can co create our own heaven on earth reality. So, what I love about the very last passage that I have posted next to my mirror in my bathroom is Mother Mary speaks. And we are supposed to speak this with her. So you can repeat this out loud, or you can go back, or you can write it. I encourage you to look at it every single day because it is a message from your higher self that you are meant to embody so that you can really evolve out of the ways of this world. It says, I accept that I hold the keys to my heaven on earth. I accept that I create my reality by the power of my word. My word is good. My heart is pure. By the loving power of my word, I now recognize and accept my higher self as the peace that passes all understanding. By the power of my I am presence, it is commanded that my heart spiral open to now flourish and blossom as the rose. It is done, it is done, it is done. By the power of three, the perfect Trinity, it is done. So I know that there are parts of you that you are afraid to look at. I know that there are parts of you that you are ashamed of and that you do not want to bring forward. But I can promise you, standing here as a woman that left no stone unturned in her consciousness and wasn't afraid to look at any pain that I caused another person and any pain that was put onto me by someone else's wounding, I can assure you that when you choose to bring this forth, when you choose to look at it, when you choose to work through it, and you forgive yourself and you work on getting through the judgment that you have of yourself, you actually set yourself up for success because then your authentic self can be in the room. When you are operating from a place of trying to hide parts of yourself, then you will never allow yourself to have a full, intimate connection with another being, which is what we're all searching for. I said to someone yesterday in session, intimacy is into me. I let you see because I've accepted all of me. You can choose to accept all of me or not. I don't have any skin in the game. If you don't like me, you don't like me. You want to reject me, you want to reject me. That's okay because I know who I am. I'm good with you and I'm also good without you. I don't need your approval. I don't need your acceptance. I don't need your love. If you want me, amazing. If not, we're on a different path and I send you love along the way. Like there's no judgment for that because I know that every single thing that happened to me on my path is meant for me to learn something about me. It's all happening through me and created for me by my higher self. So we don't have to walk this path and we don't have to do this work alone. So I'm going to leave you with a couple of journal prompts if you want to dive into this a little bit deeper. And I also encourage you to find a coach, a counselor, someone that you can work with that can help you do some internal family systems work, or maybe even some deeper trauma processing with EMDR. If you want that to be me, go ahead and sign up for my newsletter. Go ahead and book a consultation call. I'm here for it. So some of the things you may want to ask yourself is, what is one thing that I don't even want to admit to myself that I am afraid to admit to another? What are the biggest things that I still judge and shame myself for? Where am I abandoning myself? Where am I betraying myself? Because I believe that's going to give me the love and acceptance that I ultimately deserve. What is it that I no longer want to be doing that no longer feels fulfilling to me, but I'm doing it anyways because I'm afraid? Who would I be? How would I feel? And what would my life look like if I actually let myself off the hook? How would I operate if I knew that the darkness and the thorns of my life were actually all meant and purposely designed to help me fulfill my destiny and my purpose? These are some deep questions that you have to be brave enough to ask yourself if you're going to escape the reality that is causing you immense suffering. Because the only way is through. We can avoid it, we can pretend, we can hide, but the universe being the loving source that it is, it's not going to let you do it for too long. And if you continue to hide from yourself, then we get massive disruptions where we actually have to face ourselves. And then we actually start to create so much pain that we have no choice to turn to spirit and say, here, take the wheel. I can't do this on my own anymore. I need your help. My way is not working. So, if you related to this, I would love to hear what you think about this episode. And if you're someone that really struggles with accepting all parts of yourself, I encourage you to continue to follow me and to tune into these teachings because I have spent 20 years helping men and women work with their pain so that they can overcome it and they can find their ultimate purpose through authenticity and self expression and true freedom in this life.